How's it going, everybody? Chilling over at twitch.tv/Lawler. And if you guys are unaware, we've actually got only one more regional left this weekend to figure out our last remaining teams for RLCS Spring Major. Obviously, everybody's been focused on Dallas, but we've still got our last regional for Europe to go down. It's actually a lie. We've actually got two things happening. We still got to figure out who's coming from APAC. And that got me to thinking, I wonder how many others aren't aware of, like, APAC qualifiers and what that means, that aren't aware that South America had some of the craziest overtime resets that completely changed the outcome of a series, and all the other minor regions. So I figured it'd be a good idea, because we are a week ahead, we are doing things a little bit easily, is two reminders. Number one, last week we ended up doing our playoff breakdowns and our like tiebreaker scenarios for Europe last week, and we also did our predictions last week. So if you want to know about that stuff for Europe, go take a look back, and we have that stuff for you if you guys would like to stay up to date on the things that matter for this weekend of Europe. But then number two, we should probably talk about the minor regions. Most of them have qualified. We have 11 out of 16 teams already secured for the Spring Split Major. So in this video, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to talk about all these regions, give you reminders of what went down, some of the important storylines going into the Spring Split Major, and then kind of sit back and watch and be ready for, okay, APAC's got their qualifier, one team progresses through, and we've got Europe this weekend, which is going to give us our final four teams. So with that said, let's take a look at the overall bracket of showing everybody who is qualified, what we're kind of waiting for the Spring Split Major, which is going to be in London in just a few short weeks. First things first, North America, we've got most of our teams. G2, FaZe, V1, Space Station, Envy. They played last week. We've already secured it. One new face. Envy is back. Landlusion is back. He made it. So both the new version with FaZe as well as Landlusion making it back. Ironically enough, in Regional 3, if you guys don't remember, Turbo Pulsa had to sub in because Illusion was feeling sick, and they qualified. So Turbo Goat status manages to get enough wins again. As for Europe, normally there is 5 teams, but we only have one on display. It's because BDS has been so dang good that they have already secured a spot. We are still waiting for the other 4. There was like 12 teams, I think, still in the running. If you guys don't remember and you guys didn't see it, again, check out my tiebreaker scenarios from last week, Wednesday, that we went over. Over in OCE, no Renegades. No Renegades. It is Pioneers, Kansas City Pioneers with Banana Head making it back. And then you've got Power, the former Ground Zero teams that was picked up by the Power team that realized that picking up a content creator and a ragtag team bunch of goofballs isn't enough to win games, let alone make it into the main event. Lachlan, I'm glad you've been wise in your ways and going back to the home base. Power, Amphis, Torsos, and Express should treat you well. Good stuff from Power as they are having a resurgence as well. We're running it back. The team in Furia that was top 6 is making it back. So congrats to Furia. They are going to see if they have that unfinished business and come back and get some upsets as they are now trying to make a run. You've then got Team Secret as well, but that doesn't really tell the story as well. We've still waited on APAC, and then we've got Falcons because Falcons do no wrong. They just go and win everything. So we have seen some pretty interesting results, but that doesn't really tell the full story or the importance of what really went down. So we're going to go region by region and talk more so what is on the line. First things in OCE, Regional 1, 2, and 3. We're probably going to do this by the rankings because it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand. If we go and look at the spring ranking, which shows us our results. Renegades, 2nd place, 3rd place, 3rd place. They are 11 points behind Power and do not qualify. In the 3rd and final regional for OCE, which, again, I wish people would watch these minor regions more. It's actually super intense. You watch this bracket, Renegades goes to the upper bracket final. They win this, they're golden. They get a guaranteed additional 50 points. They put themselves in. So if Renegades wins this series, they're fine. They would have made it. They would be going to the major. They don't. They lose in 7. They drop down to the lower bracket. They then lose in 7 again. And because Kaka's Minions, which is a name and a half, because they win, it actually clutches for Power, which is insane. And then Pioneers and Kaka's Minions played out. Kaka's Minions does get the bracket reset. Eventually, Pioneers closes out. They win the whole thing. Everything's sunshine and rainbows, except for Renegades. And the reason why I say that is if we took at the full ranking for Renegades, what's insane is right now they are still in 1st place. And with the way that points are allocated for the wild card spots and everything else, what's insane to me is that they need these teams to actually perform kind of poo-poo. If Power wins a series, no big deal. Because Power is going to leapfrog them. They'll be the first seed. Renegades will be the second seed. They still get to go to the World Championship. Not a big deal. They'll get into the wild card stage. Everything's fine and dandy. But if Pioneers wins a series and they end up making 9th through 12th at the major, so if Pioneers, because they are going to the major, end up performing well enough to where they get out of double elimination and they win, so they don't just go 0-2 and out, then they have enough points to potentially bump out Renegades. If they make top 6, it's done. Renegades is going to go completely out of the way. It's kind of insane. Like there's some pretty crazy scenarios for OCE that all are due to the fact that OCE could have just shut down if they would have won a series. It's absolutely insane. Now, obviously, there is potential for them to unlock another seeding chance if they do have a really strong performance. But yeah, there's some pretty solid stuff going on. But OCE performance is really important for Renegades. Them not going to the major is got to be tearing on the heartstrings. That is some pretty wild stuff going down. So I'll do a wild card scenarios after the major ends. When the major ends, I'll tell you guys about some of the stuff that developed. I'm just not going to try to break down too much of it because it's a whole lot. So that's OCE. We go over to South America, and let me pull up the rankings for them for spring because it is neck and neck like it always is. Anytime the regions only have like 2 spots allocated, all 3 regionals is so crucial. So we take a look at this. Furia has won 2 events. They're a surefire in. They take 2 second places and 1 third place. They did pretty dang well. As for Team Secret, a first place and 2 third places. Also able to clutch it up. And then the club and crew coming down to the wire. 2 second places and a 4th place finish. Still not enough. They're trying to find that 3rd place world spot similar to OCE. And if we want to talk about the specifics, we look at Regional 3. We're talking about point difference. Look at these results. Club in the grand finals, Secret just lower. The end results literally matter for these 3 teams. These results, depending on how things played out, change everything. The other crazy thing that happened in this regional that I kind of briefly mentioned is there was an OT that ended up going down here. And what ended up happening, and I have to find it in my Discord, links to that in the description if you guys would like to come join us for part of the event conversation, was recapped by one of the community members who used to do the RLCS broadcast day 1 stuff for, I think it was Navi and stuff back in the day. But Spooks ended up detailing it in specifics for myself. If I can find it. So what ended up happening is it was game 7 overtime between Furia and the club. So this match here. Furia won the OT, but the goal was really weird as the defender didn't move and it felt like he just jumped. It would have been a save. The club showed it to the admins right away and the clip of the lag that they had during the goal. And the admins then deemed that the lag was a big enough reason to redo the entire overtime. Club then wins that overtime and is now in the finals against Furia. Meaning if Furia does not win, there still is a chance for Secret to make the major. So they go from being, we won OT in game 7 overtime, we're fine, we're going to the major, to crap, we're losing to the lower bracket. And if we don't win in these series, we're SOL, we're done. Heart-wrenching stuff. All coming down to the wire. Absolutely insane. That all happens. And the way that applies is with like club winning. There's a bunch of tiebreaker scenarios and stuff, but by Furia making it and going through is insane. Absolutely insane. Also, 2 game 7s. Look how many overtimes. You guys can't see it on your screen. So 2 game 7s, a bunch of OTs, like really close series. So that's to make the major and secure worlds by winning. Insane stuff. Insane stuff. So much on the line in those regions. Absolutely wild. So South America has been pretty crazy. Probably one of my favorite regions actually to watch. Watching Jan go crazy is always a good time. So that does it for Sam in their situation, but Furia does secure the spring event. And then if you look at the overall rankings as well, I think I had those up. You can see in South America, Furia has secured a wild card spot. Potential to secure a main event spot if they do really, really well. But some pretty big things happening here with their point allocation. Up next, we then go out of OCE and Sam, and we go to the Middle East. We go to MENA. And in Falcons-like fashion, they win here, they win here, and they win here. The cool thing, though, is there is some depth starting to show in the region. Obviously, Veloce went over and picked up a team as well. Falcons isn't just dominating everybody in the bracket anymore. They are dropping to the lowers every once in a while. They'll still make their way back and win in the end. But for them, it is crazy to see that, hey, Veloce is able to beat the Falcons. Cola is beating Veloce. Like, in the end, yes, it is Falcons winning everything. They go a perfect 9-0 in their regionals. They do not lose a single regional, which is unbelievable. They've locked in. They're like a top 6 team in the world right now, considering with the results. Super consistent, but it is crazy to see that you are starting to see the depth of a region with teams like 0-1, Anka, Kings, Twisted Minds at times has been getting a little bit better. Veloce, Cola, like there's like 6 solid teams in MENA, and they're super competitive. There's a lot of conversation also going around. Does MENA deserve another spot? I think there's conversation around it, but you have to show me with your starting roster, Falcons. We know how good you can be. We saw you play with Senzo, but we've yet to see you with your starting roster. It's only one event. Yes, you only get 3 a year, potentially 4 with the World Championship, but if they have a solid performance in spring and then they go to World Championships and also perform well, maybe they have a team that makes it out a wild card situation. I think there's conversation for it, and I don't doubt that MENA is probably one of my favorite regions to watch. I understand why Johnny Boy is so adamant about their rosters. You should 100% tune into MENA if you get the chance. It's unbelievable. Next, we go to APAC, which is a little bit more complicated just because it is 2 regions that then merge for the qualifier. And I'll kind of talk about that in just a second here. The difficulty with APAC is obviously they have North and South and they're different rankings, but it's in North. In the APAC North rankings is pretty much between 2 teams, Tokyo Verde and Detonator. It's neck and neck, super close. Agilite has been in the conversation, but for the most part, either Detonator wins or Tokyo Verde wins. And in this circumstance, Detonator in the final regional and regional 3, I mean, that's who it comes down to. Tokyo Verde dominates in the upper bracket final, and Detonator comes back and wins in 2 Game 7s. Absolutely bonkers. Regions with no experience in the RLCS for the first time in 5 years of Rocket League are now getting consistent tournaments to compete in, and you're starting to see that depth come out. It is not just super one-sided. So Detonators is able to win 2 out of 3 regionals. Tokyo Verde wins 1 out of 3, but they're second place in the other 2. Really solid stuff. Awesome to see the competition breed for these regions. On the other side, for Asia Pacific, if we look at their rankings, it's pretty much between 2 teams. Gaming Gladiators and MetaPower. MetaPower also is a pretty regular here in this channel. They come and hang out with us quite a bunch. But Gaming Gladiators are pretty much the favorites. 2 first place, 1 second place. As for MetaPower, 1 first, 1 second, and 1 third. So podium finishes across the board for them. In their regional 3, I don't know if there was anything too crazy, but it was as expected. Like MetaPower and Gaming Gladiators are the surefire favorites. I would say there's a bit more depth in North than South, but it is still pretty competitive. On the other side of things too, the one thing that's a little bit different about APAC, because they only send 1 representation to the main event, is they still have to go through their qualifiers. So for Spring Major, they have a qualifier where the top 4 teams, Detonator, Tokyo Verde from North, Gaming Gladiators, and MetaPower from South, are going to play in a double elimination bracket. If you are the first seed in your region, which is why it's so important that Detonator won that last regional, they have an extra life in a page playoff system. So these teams can lose, drop down, and then they get another chance, while these teams are on and out. That is it. You lose, you go home. So lower bracket runs really, really tough here. This is probably going to go down today, the day this video releases. If they're consistent with how they've done it in the past, they usually do it on the Wednesday before the last regional, which is today. So very likely that this is going down. Unfortunately, on Liquipedia right now, there's no information about start times. This hasn't been announced. They haven't told us when it's going to be. We have no idea. But hopefully this is what I'm correct on. They've done it on Wednesdays in the past before the final regional. So with CRL going down this past weekend for the championships, EU is this weekend. Maybe they also run this weekend as well. I do not know. But let me know who you guys have in the comments. Who do you think is going to make it through? Detonator, Verde, Gaming Gladiators, or MetaPower? That's a pretty tough pick. Those are actually really competitive teams that are getting better and better. We did see Detonator take a game off of FaZe rather than getting just 3-0'd every single time. So it's been competitive, man. It's getting better. So the last and definitely not least is the SSA region. Sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of people don't know about this region because we haven't seen them at the majors. They are guaranteed 2 spots in the wildcard round, which is the teams that are ranked from 9 to 24. Guaranteed 2 spots. It's been pretty competitive, I will say. It's getting a lot better between these regions in how things are playing out. If we take out the rankings for SSA, particularly in spring, Orlando Pirates be going hard. But for the first time, Bravado. Like, it's not just Orlando Pirates. Like, Bravado's been putting up a pretty good fight. At beginning, ATK, it seems like they've kind of fallen off a little bit, but Orlando Pirates and Bravado have been your 2 outstanding since winter or end of fall, I would say. So if you look at their full rankings, you can kind of see the trend and the separation they've created in the last two splits. So Orlando Pirates are probably the favorites. They're super consistent. They're either first or second every single time, but Bravado is right there with them. Bravado arguably doing better lately. So should be fun to see. I would probably still give the nod to Orlando, but with more reps, with more experience and more exposure to it, you never know. And the wild card being a region that is going to have every region involved, or a tournament's going to have every region involved, different play styles, different exposure. Some people adjust to these things very quickly. You just never know. Plus, we've never seen these teams play internationally. We've only seen them play within their own region. And I think a lot of people in general just haven't seen them play at all. So SSA, 2 guaranteed spots. The top 2 teams, which they've already locked in. None of these other teams have a chance. They are going to the wild card. So Orlando Pirates and Bravado are going to be the ones rounding out for the World Championship in the wild card stage, which is where your teams, like, if you're 8th seed in like if Vitality doesn't move up or down at all, this could be the wild card teams that they play early. So stuff like that. But will be interesting to see on how it all develops, because we still got to figure out what's going down for Europe. So don't forget about that. Europe this weekend. That's the big one that everybody's paying attention to. But we also have the APAC qualifiers as well, which I'm really excited to see if Realize and the boys can clutch it out, or if we're going to see something else. Because again, super competitive. You've got 4 teams fighting for one spot, which is always really exciting. So with that said, that is going to do it for your minor region recap, kind of an overarching thing about things to be paying attention to. I will end up doing a wildcard breakdown once we finish and cap off with spring. I think once we get done with spring, I'll probably do a recap of like wildcard scenarios, because spring is going to have in their major a really important effect. How teams perform in London are going to determine which teams kind of go in, and we'll try to do an all-encompassing for that for people. And then after that is all said and done, we'll talk about wildcard breakdown, everything else. So that is the plan. That is what we'll end up doing in the future. So with that said, if you guys do have any additional questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have any questions about what's going on, things that you want to know about around the scene, there's a lot. I understand. I'm trying to do as much as I can. I'm probably going to do it a little bit more and a little bit more over the top, just because not everybody sees these. So if you guys do have questions or things you'd like me to take care of in a follow-up video, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and feel free to join us over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lawler. We stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. But that is going to do it for this video. Again, we appreciate it as always. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.